So right now, while I got it on my mind, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Matt and his kidnapping and ransom insurance agent career. Just because he held her hand through the last week of her life doesn't wipe his slate clean, but it sure does bode well for the idea that he's held on to some of his humanity. Because you see, Matt could be a very similar operation to what Archaics refers to David Nino Rodriguez and his crew, like 107, and he calls them the Patriot Pacification Program. You know, Q and the White Hats are going to save the day. But we got to let this country be brought to its knees to have this near-death experience. It's going to be a Cuban Missile Crisis. Just kick back, let it happen, know that we got it all under control. The White Hats are going to snatch a victory from the jaws of defeat. You don't worry your pretty little head. Just sit there and watch it all go down. Patriot Pacification Program. Likewise, Matt says, worry about yourself. Oh, chasing all those breadcrumbs, those are all pissed on breadcrumbs. That's what they want you to do. They want you to pay attention and try and figure stuff out. Instead, the true meaning of your life is to worry about yourself, like he says 10 times in each one of his videos. That's the same exact effect. This not nilk Illuminati couldn't pay someone. Maybe they do pay him. They couldn't ask for a better presentation to pacify the truthers and get them to stop investigating and looking into things and just worry about yourself. Because chasing the breadcrumbs, the screen, the not nilk, trying to figure things out and be involved in the world as it's happening around you, that's what they want you to do. They're tricking you into looking into things and investigating. Don't do that anymore, Matt says. Just worry about yourself. Same exact operation as the Patriot Pacification Program. And the reason I got a little worked up toward the end of that last video, because I've made a couple of videos about Matt once I discovered he is a kidnapping and ransom insurance agent. Saying, hey, sound the alarm, intruder alert, we got an agent in our midst, infiltrating, looking like a truther, but he's actually an agent. Not just an insurance agent. There's a lot of psychological operations that weigh heavily into the kidnapping and ransom insurance industry. Like, ma'am, I really suggest you upgrade to the premium package. You don't want to risk your husband getting those splinters driven under his fingernails to save a couple dollars, do you? Because once they start chopping off fingers, even if we get him back in one piece, he'll never be the same. You don't want to risk the father of your children not being able to be their father that they once knew. Because even if you get him back in one piece, he won't be the same. Hold on, I got dogs barking. And so Matt's even made a video or two trying to explain it all away. Making it out as if he was just with one of the big insurance firms, Geico or Progressive or one of these big insurance firms. Two things he never says, kidnap and ransom. He alludes to it by saying we serviced American expats, expatriates, Americans that are overseas. We sold them insurance policies. He'll never mention that it was kidnapping and ransom insurance policies. And he'll never mention that he was the founder of the business. Even if he funneled it through one of these major insurance firms, like he refers to it as if he was in some big firm competing with all the other agents, trying to hit my numbers every year. He started the company, McKinley Kidnap and Ransom Insurance Agency. He was the owner-operator, not just an agent under the umbrella of a giant corporation. Even if you co-opted the logo and the name brand of a large insurance company and used their template to make your operations as a CIA agent look like a legitimate insurance company, kidnapping and ransom insurance is more like James Bond 007 type cloak and dagger shit, not an insurance agent. So I still have a problem with his dishonesty. It's a lie of omission. You omit and just leave out that minor little detail about what kind of an insurance agent you were. And even though when he's made these videos trying to explain it away, trying to counteract the damage, doing damage control after chalk body outline and people like myself figured out something's not right here. He tries to make these videos say, oh, these people freak out and make videos about me. Go, ooh, look, he's an insurance agent, and act like it's some big deal and some sinister thing. I was just working for the firm, hitting my numbers. He's made videos trying to counteract the narrative that has come out about him. And he just tries to explain it away like he was just an insurance agent. It's no big deal. That's dishonesty. Because he knows if he mentions that, that's going to be the substance of every question that follows thereafter. Tell us what you did on a regular basis. On an average day, what did your job consist of? A what? A kidnap and ransom insurance agent? I've never heard of such a thing. Tell us more about this, Matt. Yet he won't. So it does draw suspicion. And his main message? Worry about yourself. Don't look into any of those pissed on breadcrumbs. Investigate anything that's happening in the world around you. That's the screen. That's the knot milk trying to get your attention to focus on it. They want you investigating things. Instead, so this reverse psychology trick convinces all of his people that he pacifies the truth or pacification program to go and isolate themselves, insulate themselves from anything and everything going on in the world. Just like the Patriot pacification program, don't worry, Q and the white hats are going to take care of it. We got it all under control. So I still have serious questions about Matt. And I'll include a couple of videos in the description that I made about him previously when I discovered these things about his insurance agency that he founded. He is the owner and the founder of that little subsidiary that may or may not have been affiliated with a larger insurance company. Doesn't matter. Anyone can franchise the name of a McDonald's and then do something else with the banner of McDonald's on the front door. That's all that would be when he's running a kidnapping and insurance agency with Progressive on the front door. That's all that is franchising a name of a larger corporation. He founded that company. It was him and a few other dudes. This is like retired military guys. The basis of the kidnapping and insurance industry is, like I said before, and there is heavy psychological operations involved in it. When you're trying to convince and persuade the wife of the kidnapped guy to pay the ransom, or trying to sell him on a higher package, or negotiating the release of a hostage, major psychological operations go into that type of a business. But like he says, that's the old gig. You don't do the old gig, you do the new gig, where we go online. We're going to take the whole world hostage, and we need you to keep these guys distracted, keep them pacified, complacent, full of apathy and indifference, and thinking that the Illuminati want you looking into things and figuring it out. So don't do that. Just worry about yourself. But regardless, he did seem to show a human side when he dealt with Violet. And the videos that he made for her played at her funeral. They called it something else, like a life celebration for her family and friends. Because she was like the rest of us, alienated, out of touch from the rest of her cohorts in her peer group and her family and friends. And so that was very touching. You could see it was real emotion that it conjured up within Matt. He made one video a week before she checked out of this world, and one video a few days after, showing us the video that he had made for her funeral. And there was definitely a human side to Matt that was revealed in that video series. And again, it was about the witness. He offered her his witness and the witness of his viewers at a time when she could really use it. And I know a little something about that. And so that meant a lot to her. And you could tell it meant a lot to him. She gave him the opportunity to embrace that humanity that's left within him, regardless of what he did or didn't do during his insurance agency career. So I'll include those 2 videos in the descriptions. The ones where I explain in greater detail. I think I've pretty much covered the bases already. You kind of get it, right? These are ex-military. Now they're in the private sector. Before, they were over there in military gear, having to go by the protocols of rules of engagement, having to try and to navigate this territory where it's easier to just pay off the local warlords, and there's competing factions. So when you buy this insurance policy, yeah, we're going to go pay off the main guys, but there's a few competing smaller gangs of bandits that could be a problem. So that's why we also want him to get the subdermal microchip implant so that we can track him wherever he goes. That's what kidnapping and ransom insurance agency is. It's ex-military in places like Iraq and Afghanistan who know the territory, anywhere else like Black Hawk Down, wherever that was, these third world shitholes. And they're essentially making an industry out of kidnapping by paying the ransom early and calling it insurance. And I get into some pretty comical, whimsical shit in this other video linked in the description where I describe it before about how the young aspiring kidnapper doesn't want to deal with small fish. In fact, we don't even want to have to kidnap you at all. Just pay us the money and we won't kidnap you. That's what the middleman insurance agent does. Pay you the money so you don't have to go through the hassle of kidnapping them to get the money. And so the gang of bandits grows. Remember after 9/11, we don't negotiate with terrorists? That's exactly what he was. He was the negotiator that went and paid off the terrorists before they kidnap you. Making an industry out of it to where they could collect money without even having to lift a finger. Because the young aspiring kidnapper doesn't want to deal with small fish. We want to kidnap like one of these royal Saudi princes or something, where we can extract billions out of them. We don't want to have to waste our time with these small fish. Just send an insurance agent out to the airport and tell them when they're getting off the plane, see those guys over there? It's like a toll bridge. All these people from over there that want to get their goods to the market over there got to go through this choke point in the canyon. And in that choke point, there's a bunch of guys that are going to tax you. Here, we've just systematized it and we call it a toll bridge. Over there, they say you give us a cut or you're not getting past here and we're taking your goods. And we don't want to have to take your goods. Just give us the standard fare. That's all Matt was a collections agent for kidnappers, collecting the ransom before they did the act of kidnapping. So his slate ain't clean, I assure you. And the only way you get into an industry like that is if you have been over there in the area, in the nitty-gritty, and you know the neighborhood, and you know the key players of who's going to be the ones doing the kidnapping, who you got to pay off, who you got to negotiate with, and then set something up. My guy's the guy with the blue ball cap, have a little pin on the side. Don't kidnap that guy. He's got an insurance policy. Here, we'll give you the standard cut of his fee that he paid us. But that guy over there, he didn't buy the policy. Go ahead, he's free game. That's what that is. It's systematizing kidnapping, creating an industry out of it where you have a passive revenue stream of income without even having to kidnap anyone, because you got this guy calling himself an insurance agent, extorting people. And this is where the psychological operations come in to sell those policies and hit your numbers within the firm. You got to use traumatic psychological operations on the people that you're trying to sell this policy to. Give them some gore horror stories about the previous guy that didn't buy a policy and what happened to him. And how, even though his wife got him back in one piece, he was never the same. He could never be the father to her children that he was before he left on that trip. And you don't want to risk losing the father to your children over a little bit of money, do you, ma'am? I really suggest you upgrade to the premium package. So I still have a lot of misgivings about Matt. And I express them in the couple videos linked in the description where I talk about him being a kidnapping and ransom insurance agent. That's what a lot of guys do when they get out of the military. They join the private sector that does the same exact thing they did when they were in the military, but for more money and less regulations over those private companies that are mercenaries, paid armies that have no allegiance to any cause or any principles. They're up for sale to the highest bidder. They're a gun for hire. And that appears what it was Matt was doing. And so he's got a closet full of skeletons, I'm sure. And the fact that he won't mention kidnapping or ransom when he tries to explain away that he was just an insurance agent, makes himself out to be something that he's not. That's dishonesty. That's a lie of omission. Combine that with the general message that he delivers to not concern yourself with anything going on in the world around you. That's what they want you to do. They're intentionally throwing those breadcrumbs out in front of you to try to keep you chasing the trail of clues and waste your whole life. Instead, you should worry about yourself. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. The not-nilk couldn't ask for a better pacifier than Matt. To go get the attention of a bunch of these tinfoil hat truthers, keep them not focused on anything, just talk about these lofty notions of these crazy ideas that really don't apply to anything going on in the world around us, and then get them to see it as a morally virtuous thing to look the other direction and pay no attention to what's going on in the world around you, because I'm so smart I've figured out that the Illuminati are trying to get me to figure things out. So it's a elementary reverse psychology. The Illuminati want you to figure things out and keep trying to think for yourself and notice what's going on in the world around you and connect the dots. They're throwing those clues out in front of you to try to keep you following the breadcrumbs and the trail of breadcrumbs. So here at this channel, we're smart enough, we've figured that out, and we pay no attention to anything going on in the world anymore. We just worry about ourselves. And he's got a lot of people that go, yeah, that sounds right. Why? Because it feels good to be able to sit back on your ass and do nothing and feel like you're somehow more superior to the people that are doing the investigations, who are paying attention, who are spending their time and paying their attention to the things that matter in the world as they happen around us. The elite, the system, the establishment would like a few hundred more people just like Matt delivering the same message, so they don't have to deal like on Scooby-Doo. If it weren't for you meddling kids, I would have gotten away with it. Well, if Matt from Quantum of Conscience was one of those Scooby-Doo characters, those meddling kids wouldn't have been looking into anything. They'd have been worrying about themselves. Thinking, yeah, old man Flanders, he wants me to go look and follow the trail of clues, so I'm smart enough, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to sit here and worry about myself. So as you can see, I'm still highly conflicted about Matt, but he's just a dude. He's just one guy. But it does make sense that this is the new gig. You ain't got to come out here in the middle of buttfuck Egypt and negotiate with these terrorists for a hostage release and a ransom negotiation. We got a new gig for you. Go online. We're going to take the whole world hostage, and while we're doing it, we want you to keep the people who would interfere with what we're doing, pacify them, sedate them, keep them distracted, convince them that the man wants you to look into what he's doing. And so let's not do that. Yeah, we're 2 steps ahead of him now. We figured it out. Nonetheless, his humanity shined through, and you could see some real humanity in what he did with Violet during the last week of her life. And that is some hardcore, pipe-hitting reality of the world we live in. It's not just two-dimensional, flat-screen, superficial, surreal, online shit of the truther world. That's real people, real consequences, the real nitty-gritty of someone who's a week away. Hey, I've only got 1 week left in this world. You still want to talk to me? What do you got to say to me? Most people would turn their attention the other way, avert their gaze. And in this time where they're trying to breed the humanity out of all of us, how many people during the C-19 operation averted their gaze and looked the other way when the COVID cops came to throw you in a COVID cab and take you down to the concentration camp? A lot of people. How many people called the cops on their neighbors? Because they're outside during lockdown. He's not wearing a mask. They've got more than 5 people over at their house. People turned on each other real quick. Lost their humanity real quick. And so to retain that element of who we are, I like what I saw. It'll be on his highlights reel, in his performance review, in the afterlife. What else is on that highlights reel in his performance review? Probably some shit that's not going to be exactly negated by that one act. And what he's really up to now, if he's part of some pacification program, or if he really believes the shit that he's saying, I don't know. But his humanity came out, and I commend him for that. I got this new idea for an app. It's going to be big. It's going to be huge. Uber Kidnap, powered by Venmo with Ransom calculator. You tap your phone to the abductor's phone. It transfers the agreed upon amount for ransom, and it automatically sends you an Uber to come pick you up. If we're going to normalize, systematize, popularize, and monetize the act of kidnapping to where it can become a business, why not just go all the way? Uber Kidnap, powered by Venmo with Ransom calculator. And the ransom is based on local per capita income and other similar commissions that have been paid out in previous scenarios. And so, of course, I'm using the absurdity to illustrate the absurd. That a kidnap insurance company is just as absurd as Uber Kidnap. And you may not find much application, much usefulness for this in your neck of the woods, but these apps go worldwide, and I assure you, in some places in Crapistan, they could really use this to convenience, as a convenience. So that's what the insurance company is doing. It's monetizing the act of kidnapping. Normalize it, systematize it, and popularize it. But primarily, you got to monetize it, and then we need to make the payment process smooth transaction. The insurance company is what does that. Now, let me explain to you what kind of people might start up an insurance company like that. Ex-military, MI5, MI6, CIA, Army intelligence, not foot soldiers that got out of the military and decided they wanted to start up a company. Guys who get out of the military, start up a company doing exactly what they did in the military, but they make a lot more money and they do it for the private sector. These guys would include the same guys that did it in the military. They need to figure out how to get a convoy of supplies from point A to point B, and they know that there's these Taliban-type tribes that hang out at the choke points. Essentially, it's what we've come to know as a toll road. Same process. The same bandits that would sit on the side of the road and tell you, we're going to take everything you got if you don't give us a little cut in order to pass through a bridge, a choke point. Inner city travel, people travel within the city, right? And people travel within this city. But the people traveling from one city to another are most often commercial. They're packing goods. Either that they bought from this city and then they're taken back home, or that they're taken to the city in order to sell. In these areas, the locals know you have to take the payment for the thugs or you don't get past the bridge. The locals know this. It's essentially a toll road. And the same people that used to sit by the side of the road that we call bandits, like train robbers, systematized it. Like James said, predator has become civilized. So much so that we now call it a toll road, and we know what day of the year to pay your taxes. Same process as those guys in these third world countries that sit on the side of the road and tax you as you go by, and the locals know it's just a tax As long as you pay them their cut, you ain't got to worry. They ain't going to hassle you. They don't want to have to kidnap you. They don't want to have to take everything you are packing. So now it occurred to me when my dad says that in some of these places, they just carry sacrificial cash to hand over to the kidnappers and hope they go away. And I thought, well, why wouldn't they just take the cash and kidnap you? Repeat customers, passive revenue stream of income. In order to get other people to pay me to not kidnap them, I'm going to take your money and let you go. Now you go tell all your friends that paying me the amount kept you from getting kidnapped. If I kidnapped you, even after you paid me the money, then word would get out to your other associates that know that that didn't work. But if I just take the money and don't kidnap you, word gets out to your other associates, and people come through this part of town with the payment ready. Passive revenue stream generation. Getting paid for people you don't kidnap. That's what that is. And so, the kidnappers know that they want a good repeat customer, return customer, good service, so they don't kidnap the guy who pays the money. Essentially, that's the same thing as the new app I'm going to create, Uber Kidnap. It allows the small startup business, who wants to take it. My dad was a kidnapper, my grandpa was a kidnapper, and I just want to follow in the family business. But he doesn't want to focus on small fish and having to just kidnap random tourists for $1,000 here, $1,000 there. He wants to go for the big fish, like these Saudi princes that you could get multi-millions out of. And so in order to allow him to do that, he employs the Uber app, the Uber Kidnap, powered by Venmo with Ransom calculator, and he can even franchise it and have 10 guys below him, 10 downlines that are out there kidnapping the small fish, random tourists, while he can focus on the big fish and really practice his craft and really hone his skills at kidnapping. Instead of having to bother with the small fish, this can generate him an ongoing stream of passive income where he doesn't even have to kidnap people. Just say, you're kidnapped. Okay, here, tap my phone to yours. And eventually it'd get so convenient that homeless just sit on the side of the road and grab you by the wrist. You're kidnapped. And he's like, get the hell out of here. You kidnapped me last week. I gave you $50. Come on, man. I'm hard. You get out of here. You got to put more effort into it than that. And so the whole idea of kidnapping insurance is a euphemism. It's like Tony in The Sopranos, the guy that says, I paint houses. He don't really paint houses. He's a paid killer. But he uses a euphemism like I paint houses to avoid talking about what he really does. Likewise with, I was an insurance agent. Insurance. When he's really something more like a hostage negotiator before the fact. You've heard about an accomplice after the fact. This is an accomplice before the fact. He is exactly the solution in an kidnapping insurance company that the kidnappers are looking for in order to generate a passive revenue stream of income without having to actually kidnap the people doing it. So the kind of guys that would start up this kind of business in the private sector are the same ones that did it for the military while enlisted. And I can even imagine a scenario under the rules of engagement that we had there for a while under the Obama administration, where the hands were tied of our troops, because rules of engagement said, well, you got to wait for them to shoot at you 3 times. The remainder of this video will be linked in the description. It's a little over 30 minutes. Along with this video that shows you the receipts and the reality of this kidnap and ransom insurance expert, Matt McKinley, who everyone thinks of as just a jolly little old elf who would never hurt a soul, and that in a sane world, kidnap insurance is outlawed in every country because it's just organized crime, racketeering, and extortion. He's the bagman and the collections agent for the kidnappers.
All right. I woke up this morning and someone had done their due diligence and went on the Wayback Machine and found Matt's websites. McKinley International Kidnap Ransom Insurance. The kidnap and ransom insurance experts. 34 captures from December 23rd, 2009 to August 3rd, 2014. That, I assume, is the date that this website was active from. So Matt had this website active from 2009 to 2014. Now, they sent me about 4 links to his websites. This is the only one that I've read through so far. I'm going to show you the other 3 fresh as I see them myself, so you get a fresh take on them, because this is too much. Oh. Kidnapping insurance policy for living traveling internationally. The world today is a very dangerous place. When people leave the country, they seem to consider everything but the security of themselves and their family. Nothing is more important than a kidnapping insurance policy if you are living and working in certain countries abroad. And you could click there. It was a hyperlink. When the website was active, you could click there and it would take you to another part of his website. Kidnap and ransom insurance is much more than just buying a lump sum ransom benefit. You are buying the expert advice and consultation that is most responsible for saving lives. Kidnap and ransom insurance for individuals. In the past, only the largest corporations could afford a dedicated kidnap insurance policy or ransom insurance policy. Today, we write single individuals and families traveling or working abroad. The number of countries labeled as highly dangerous for foreigners to be living in or traveling to is larger than at any time in history. Most of Latin America is not safe for Americans, Brits, or Canadians. Most of Africa is extremely risky. Obviously, the Middle East is the same. If you are considering expatriate kidnapping insurance policy, there are many reasons you simply cannot assume that your employer has everything covered properly. Kidnap insurance, ransom insurance, extortion insurance. Meanwhile, this is the extortion. Expatriates are targets. Expats of all nationalities can be. Please note all of the following before you decide to submit your contact details. Let's blow this up a bit. We are not asking for certain information from you now, like your last name, on purpose. Start now. You could click there. It was hyperlinked before. If you are considering a kidnap and ransom insurance policy, you must not share the information with anyone outside your immediate family. You never want to tell anyone in your host country that you have this type of insurance policy. The express contact form is for global employers only. If you are an individual or family looking for coverage, you must use the insurance quote form on our contact page. So here's the express form. You just send them your first name, email address, telephone number, and a message, and send it. And they will get back to you with a sales job like no other. Here we have some contact info. At kidnapandransom.net. By the way, that's where we are right now. This website, when we started, I forgot to point out that that's where we are right now on a website called kidnapandransom.net.
These images that you see are part of the sales job, the trauma-based psychological operations, the guy with the gun, and you see McKinley's name right behind him there. And then the next picture here. So this was definitely some psychological operations involved with this type of insurance agent. So we know Chalk Body Outline and EBT are intel agents trying to curate the narrative online and keep certain topics suppressed by the way that CBO went at archaics and J-Dreamers and myself and refuses to acknowledge any legitimacy to the plasma fire phenomenon, and the way they tried to destroy the messenger and ignore the message. Well, the way most people came to know Chalk Body Outline, because they were referred to him by Matt McKinley here at Quantum of Conscience. And then they had a falling out. Maybe it was spy versus spy kind of a dispute between the two of them. But it's not out of the question to imagine that Matt is also from an intel agency deployed online for the purposes of keeping people focused on, the voicemail recording that takes an extra 10 seconds. They should just go to a beep, and when they keep you online and say the waiting time is longer than usual, Matt is basically the Seinfeld of the truther community. What's up with this? What's the deal with the 24-hour-a-day 7-Eleven, and why do they have a lock on the door? Meaningless, insignificant bullshit that he keeps people focused upon in order to distract them, keep them amused and entertained. When you are the business model that a kidnapper uses to monetize the act of kidnapping, you're essentially an extension, an arm of a terrorist organization who monetizes the act of kidnapping. Obviously, you're not to be trusted and taken at face value, and you're highly suspect. But has humanity still shined at least a little glimmer of it? But when you're keeping people's attention focused on minuscule minutia of reality while the world burns, in order to keep them from noticing what's happening while it's happening, you better be working for a higher power than the intel agencies, or you have hell to pay.